Well, thank you all, and thank you, Bill, for that Georgia Works program. It's very inspiring. I'm going to talk about ways that Georgia can kind of more help that program and help move more people towards self-sufficiency. My name is Logan Pike. I'm one of the government relations managers at the Heartland Institute. Heartland's a national nonprofit research organization. Our mission is to discover, develop, and promote free market solutions that empower people. One of the main issues that we've focused on is welfare reform. There are 110 million American households that receive some type of means-tested welfare benefits. According to the U.S. Census Department, that is the highest it's ever been. American taxpayers spend $1 trillion on 126 different means-tested welfare programs. So most Americans agree that for humanitarian reasons, economic reasons, it's our duty to help these people stuck in poverty to reach self-sufficiency. The question is how to effectively do that while minimizing waste. So we can get the PowerPoint up. So we published this report card in 2015. We published one in 2008 that looked at the, what is it called? The TANF law. It's a very long, very long name for a bill, and I only have 15 minutes, so I'm just going to call it the Welfare Reform Law of 1996. It's called the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996. So for obvious reasons, I'm just going to refer to it as welfare reform. It established the TANF program, which is a block grant program for states, and gives them considerable flexibility over how they're going to implement their TANF program. In our report card, we looked at 5 different programs, or 5 different policies. So Georgia, if you can go to the, is this mine? Okay. Okay, so these are the 5 policies that we looked at: work requirements, a cash diversion program, lifetime limits on eligibility for aid, sanctions, and service integration. And this is where Georgia ranks. They rank 44th on our 2015 report card. In 2008, they ranked 36, so they fell actually 8 spots, largely due to the fact that a lot of states have implemented some of these policies and come a long way, and Georgia's kind of remained idle. So I'm going to run through the 5 main policies that we looked at and kind of let you know where Georgia sits. The first policy we look at is work requirements. These are rules requiring a person to be engaged in work or work-related activities either before being eligible for the TANF program or in order to remain eligible for the TANF program. So TANF considers 12 different activities, work-related activities. This goes all the way from actually being enrolled in a part or a full-time position to vocational training, working towards a GED, community service, even just actively looking for employment is considered a work-related activity. So Georgia currently allows 3 months of kind of a grace period where you don't have to be involved in one of these work-related activities. 41 states have immediate work requirements, which means you have to be involved in one of these work-related activities in order to be accepted or start receiving cash assistance through TANF. So this 3-month period is time that was really wasted on TANF recipients where they could be using the skills and the knowledge needed in order to become self-sufficient. The next policy we look at is a cash diversion program. This is basically a policy that allows caseworkers to give a lump sum of money, short-term need. I often use the example of a single mother who is on her way to work. Her car breaks down on the way to work. She doesn't have savings to fix her car. She doesn't have the income to fix her car. So without the cash diversion program, you put her on TANF, which in my next slide you'll see in Georgia she can be on for 4 years. That is needlessly creating dependency when she only needs that one-time short-term lump sum of money to help fix her car, get back on her feet, help provide for her family. So it's essentially to divert the family from the immediate crisis and the need for ongoing TANF benefits. 33 states have this policy in place. Georgia is not one of them. The next policy that we look at is lifetime limits on aid. So with the TANF law in 1996, the federal recommendation was 5 years or 60 months. Georgia's actually come a little bit, and they've reduced it down to 48 months. So some states have gone even further. Arizona last session did 12 months. States even as diverse as Connecticut and Idaho, Indiana, and Arkansas all have lifetime limits under 30 months. I often say that the first word in TANF is temporary. It is a program that's meant to help people become self-sufficient, help people in need. It's not to create incentives to be idle. The next policy we look at is the sanctions policy. So in our report card, we look at a study that looks at, so sanctions are basically, it's a program in place where if you're not compliant with the work requirements or other requirements, you are sanctioned. So either a partial portion of your welfare or TANF check is withheld, or a full portion of the check is withheld. So we looked at a study where actually being sanctioned increases the likelihood for transition off of TANF. And you know that, can you put that back up there? That's weird looking at myself. So that actually increases with the duration of the sanction, however long the sanction is. Georgia has a partial sanction in place, which means only the adult portion of the TANF check is withheld even after repeated infractions. Many states have been transitioning to a full family sanction, so the full check is withheld. It helps directly prepare people for the choices when they're not compliant with those work requirements. So we recommend having more of a stricter sanctions in place, and that's what more states have been going towards. The last policy that we look at is the service integration. This is probably one of the most important policies, and definitely a policy that would fit with the Georgia Works program. This is organizing state human services into either one department or a coordinated, holistic, one-stop delivery of services that connect these services to the local communities and to employers. Oftentimes, as Bill said, when someone on TANF often needs a few other programs or additional help in order to help them become self-sufficient, whether that's alcohol and substance abuse, transportation, childcare. So when you're asking people to climb a ladder of opportunity, you have a few of those rungs in the ladder missing, it's going to be hard for them to get to the top. So this is allowing them to have one caseworker for all of these programs. State agencies aren't really great at communicating when someone's been deemed ineligible or non-compliant, so this would also help with the fraud or the waste aspect of things. It should also really be of keen interest to policymakers. We pour billions of dollars into low-income communities through so many different programs run by so many different bureaucracies that it usually takes a very lengthy analysis to figure out how much a state's spending on welfare or who is receiving what type of aid. So this is a really promising route to accountability and transparency in a place of government that's kind of resisted both of those. So I am from a southern state, and I've hung around a lot of legislatures, and I understand the competitive nature with some of the other states. So I wanted to mention where other states in the southeastern area rank. So Georgia's right there in the middle at 44th. Alabama in the upper left isn't doing so hot either. Florida, where I'm from, is 12th. Mississippi is 29th. North Carolina ranked 9th. South Carolina 36th, and Tennessee 23rd. Actually, all of these states, excluding Georgia, even Alabama at 45th, have immediate work requirements. All but Alabama have a cash diversion program. So Georgia's kind of, while they're ranked 44th, a little bit better than Alabama, they still have a little ways to go as far as the other states. One of our I guess, biggest success stories was in Missouri last session. Missouri ranked dead last on our report card. They proposed a bill called the Strengthening Missouri's Family Act, and it implemented immediate work requirements, a cash diversion program. It brought their lifetime limits down from the federal requirement of 60 months to 40 months, put in a full family sanction. Also, they put in an interesting thing where you have a face-to-face meeting with your caseworker explaining the sanctions process. So oftentimes a lot of TANF recipients, they don't even understand what's required of them.